Flight 229, you're clear for takeoff.
Just like a flight plan, you have to know where you're going and how you will get there when you plan for retirement. Let Ryan Fleming help you chart out a course for your retirement with his intimate knowledge of financial planning and the airline industry. It's time for the Pilot's Advisor.
It's time to rock and roll on another edition of the Pilot's Advisor. Or should I say it's time to pitch and roll? Pitch and yaw?
Look at you, Walter.
What would be the equivalent of rock and roll? Does pitch and yaw work? It's time to pitch and yaw on the Pilot's Advisor.
That works for me.
Okay, all right, we'll roll with that. Welcome, I'm Walter Storholt alongside Ryan Fleming, financial advisor at Fleming Financial Group, based out of Georgia, but serving clients worldwide. You can find us online at FlemingFG.com. We've got a great show for you today. We're going to be talking about how it's not your father's retirement anymore. The game has changed so much over the past 20 or 30 years. And boy, the world's a different place, and when your parents walked away from their paychecks, perhaps, things look a lot different now, and the strategies to get to and through retirement really have changed. So I guess what we're getting at here, Ryan, and welcome to the show, by the way, is that you don't want to necessarily model your retirement planning after your parents, right? I mean, model other things after your folks and how they might have done things, and take all the good stuff, but maybe the way they planned for retirement, we might need some tweaking and adjusting.
It's such a different world than it was for our parents. I mean, you know, the standard was before. You got hired by that company, you worked for that company for 30 or 40 years, you retired, and you got a pension that was inflation adjusted, and you lived the rest of your life in retirement. No worries.
Yep.
And that's not our world today. I mean, almost every single corporation is trying to get rid of pensions altogether. And in the airline industry, every airline has pretty much gotten rid of the pensions through bankruptcy, except for UPS and FedEx. So if you're not a cargo carrier, it's up to you to save enough money for retirement.
That's a great point, and it's just a changed landscape out there. So we've got 4 ways on today's show to illustrate not only how this isn't your father's retirement anymore, but really maybe some of the strategies you should be employing, some of the ways to approach it differently. First thing I can think of, Ryan, one major difference from retiring 20 or 30 years ago is that it's much more socially acceptable and even encouraged, depending on how people are feeling and what they want to do, to work beyond age 65, where that really just wasn't a thing 20 or 30 years ago. Now a lot of people want to continue working at that age and beyond, and that kind of changes the numbers and the planning game a little bit, right?
I think it changes it on so many different levels. I think people finally figured out that maybe they don't want to retire and just sit on their porch for the rest of their lives. I think they figured out that they want to have an active retirement. They want to be out there, or by them working past 65 or just having a job that they felt like doing or did a couple of days a week, that they weren't so aggressively digging into the money that they've saved, so that it really could provide some, extra spending cash and even a social aspect of their lives going forward. And I actually think this is very common for people to still do something after they've maybe retired from their main career.
Yeah, it just opens up so many options, and that seems to be flexibility is important as having time. Time is money. I think flexibility is money is going to be kind of the new saying as we continue to evolve in retirement planning and that kind of thing over the next couple of years, because it's not just having the time, but then how you're using that time seems to be something that we're talking about more and more. So it's okay to work beyond age 65. Keep that in mind, and the power that gives you in so many ways, because people are, living a lot longer now. So, hey, I don't need to retire at 65 if I've still got the energy and vitality and will to do it. Why not extend it a little bit longer and secure your financial situation even more for those retirement years when they do come around? Not saying that's for everybody, but certainly a big difference between 20 or 30 years ago. Well, hey there. We hope you're enjoying listening to the Pilot's Advisor today. Just wanted to take a quick moment from the show to remind you that if you have any questions ever about what Ryan talks about on the program, need any assistance with your financial planning, need some guidance to get to and through retirement, or whatever financial questions might be on your mind, don't ever hesitate to reach out. The simple way to get in touch with Ryan is to pick up the phone and call or text 843 843-475-3038. Again, that's 843-475-3038. You can also find Ryan online at FlemingFG.com. That's FlemingFG.com. And as always, we put contact information to get in touch with Ryan in the description or the show notes section of the program. So just check it out on whatever app you're using, and it's easy to get in touch with Ryan. All right, now back to the show. Another way we see that it's different, Ryan, and I'm sure you'll be able to speak to this one in depth, being retired might be more expensive than working. That didn't used to be the case when we were retiring and kind of sitting on the front porch, but that's not the case anymore, is it?
Well, exactly. And I think it comes back to that active retirement that we talked about, and people realizing that they need to go out and do, not only, to do all those things they haven't done over the years, but also because it's healthy. Otherwise, you just keel over and you're done. So I would say back in the 1990s, most financial advisors would have agreed that their clients usually saw a decrease in their expenses, once they retired and were no longer working. But I don't really think that's the case today. I think that today, retirement carries a much higher price tag for many different reasons. I think there's, we're living longer, so there ends up being increased healthcare costs, not to mention more money that's spent on, fitness and nutrition and all the other, gazillion-dollar industries out there that are, people are using to try to stay healthy and live as long as possible. And then, of course, I think there's more of an expectation now to travel and see more. I mean, I don't think our parents got to go to other countries and flew over oceans and, went to, different continents. And I think that's, the trip used to be like, oh my gosh, we're going to get in the car and go to Florida. And I think travel plans and expensive hobbies, and I think are a new thing of retirement that our parents just didn't do.
Yeah, it's true. The simple trips have been traded for more complex ones, and the grandkids may no longer live a mile down the road, and as we're much more spread out these days, and all those things come with a financial cost. And if the golf habit, lasts for another 20 years in retirement instead of 2 years, maybe like it was 20 or 30 years ago, Ryan, that's a lot more greens fees to worry about, right?
Absolutely.
So some big differences already. It's okay to work beyond age 65, and being retired might be more expensive than even during your working years.
And I would actually make that point. Most people think that their expenses are going to go down, and they think that they're going to be in a lower tax bracket. And I think the point of this show that we want to get out there is that's probably not the case. So maybe you should stop planning for that.
Yeah, it's a great point. Another way that we can talk about this, Ryan, is about retirees today often having a lot more problems to juggle than previous generations of retirees. What kind of problems are we talking about?
Well, in addition to continually ballooning, healthcare costs, I think that have gone up 300% in the past few years for themselves. As a retiree today, you have to worry about assisted living needs, financial help to maybe aging parents that you have to take care of, and how much that's going to dig into how much you've saved. Nowadays, it seems like most parents are trying to pay for their kids' their college education. Are they going to ruin their retirement savings because they're trying to have their kid graduate from college debt-free? And there's a lot more stuff out there to juggle than there was before.
Yeah, and a lot of the things that are out there to juggle impact not only lifestyle, but the finances and the bottom line as well. Not saying that today's world is any crazier than it used to be 20 or 30 years ago, but so many things cause such wild differences in our bottom lines these days that we've got to be aware of. So that's just such an interesting one to think about. I don't know if that problem will get better or worse over time, but certainly one that we know right now is impacting a lot of retirees, and that's very different from 20 or 30 years ago as well. Have you ever wanted to learn more about the academic approach to investing and saving and planning for retirement that Ryan talks about here on The Pilot's Advisor? Well, if so, go visit pilotsadvisor.com. pilotsadvisor.com. You can watch a quick webinar on the academic approach to investing. It'll show you how not to speculate and gamble with your money. It's all based on Nobel Prize winning research. Only takes about 10 minutes to get through the video and watch it. Going to be worth your time, I promise you. Go check it out right now, pilotsadvisor.com. It's a webinar that covers that academic approach to investing. pilotsadvisor.com. All right, back to the show. One other example here, Ryan, retirement portfolios today need to be designed to fund expenses for 30 or more years. we know that, but boy, when you really try to wrap your head around about how different that is compared to 20 or 30 years ago, I think that's where kind of the light bulb goes off.
Well, absolutely. And I think that one of the greatest fears is running out of money in retirement when you're unable to bridge that gap. And of course, with the pensions we talked about going away, there's a lot more stress that's put on the individual to be proactive and have a plan and save for the retirement than there was years before. Planning for retirement was a lot easier, back in the day when you retired at 60 or 65 and your life expectancy was much less. I mean, you probably keeled over in your 70s. Or, if we talked about before, people that stopped doing everything and, once they stop working, they're done. And you had that larger Social Security covered a larger percentage of your income back then too. And as we're showing as time goes forward, that Social Security is going to be less and less of income replacement than it was before. So folks retiring today, they have to think about the very real possibility of living into their 90s, 30 plus year retirement. They have to make sure that their money's not going to run out and it has to last as long as they do. And accounting for that, rising and falling interest rates, inflation, which is big in the world today, and also, understanding how stock market volatility affects their returns long term and possible tax changes. I mean, there's a myriad of things that you really have to take into account. And I tell all my clients this, and even prospects, that saving for retirement, the accumulation phase, is the easy part. The distribution phase of retirement, after you actually retire, it is much, much more complicated. You have to constantly analyze all these factors to have a plan that's going to really work for you. So, the distribution phase is very complicated.
Some of the things that we've talked about here, Ryan, you are talking a lot about in kind of your retirement rescue toolkit, your safe landing retirement package that you're sending out to a lot of folks who are requesting more information about finances and retirement. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what you've assembled here? I know it's a great starting point, certainly, for anybody who's interested in learning a little bit more about retiring and financial planning and doing it the right way. Tell us a little bit about what goes into that toolkit, then I'll tell people how they can get a copy of this. And it's not really a copy, but a physical box that you send out to people with lots of good resources and that kind of thing inside of it.
Yeah, it's a packet. It's got a couple of my books that I've written. It's got some good tax advice and actually has a pamphlet from a tax firm that we're affiliated with. It talks about how advice from a financial advisor can really change your retirement picture, with some facts and statistics on that as well. And I've been getting a lot of really great feedback on it. So if any of our listeners out there have listened to a lot of our podcasts and they think they want to reach out and get this sent off to them, they can give us a call or send us an email.
Again, that's 843-475-3038. Some books, additional goodies, things to learn and read and understand inside this kit. And again, Ryan can send that out to you at no cost. Just call or text Ryan at 843-475-3038, and you can find out how to have a safe landing when you reach retirement and how to enjoy it throughout. You can also go to FlemingFG.com or email Ryan at FlemingFG.com. All your ways to get in touch and request that. Not your father's retirement anymore, but that's okay. We know how to plan around those things and put you in the best shape to succeed in retirement. Just takes a little bit of planning, a little bit of diligence, a little bit of learning along the way, but ultimately not very tough to get in the right position. Just got to put that right foot forward to do it. Ryan, appreciate your help on the show today. Enjoyed the conversation, and we'll roll along on the next episode.
Have a great day, Walter. You take care.
You do as well. That's Ryan Fleming. I'm Walter Storholt. We'll talk to you next time on The Pilot's Advisor. You've been listening to The Pilot's Advisor, featuring Ryan Fleming, a financial advisor at Fleming Financial Group, serving clients worldwide, but based out of Charleston, South Carolina. If you have any questions for Ryan on what we've talked about on today's show, maybe a future topic idea, or want to talk more about getting a complimentary review of your financial plan, here's the best ways to get in touch. You can go online to the website, FlemingFG.com. That's FlemingFG.com. You can also email Ryan. It's simply Ryan at FlemingFG.com. Or you can call or text to get in touch. 843-475-3038 is the number. That's 843-475-3038. Thanks for listening to The Pilot's Advisor, and don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcasting apps. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, and many more locations. So whatever app you like to use, search for The Pilot's Advisor podcast today and subscribe so you never miss an episode.
Information is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute tax, investment, or legal advice. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action.